Welcome everyone to another Explore podcast episode. I am Disha Gupta, a student of PGDM GM batch of 2026 and 27, and today with me is here Avvanti Gupta. Avvanti currently leads the Ventures and Transformation for IBM Consulting across India and APAC region, where she owns everything from deal strategy to post-deal value realization across a pipeline of over $300 million. Before IBM, she built two ventures of her own, Redmorph in data privacy and cybersecurity, and NextNew, a digital consulting firm. Over 24 years of career, she has worked across telecom, financial services, BPO, and media before moving into enterprise transformation and now AI-led growth. Avanti ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So let's start with the first question that I have, ma'am.
Sure.
You started out with an economics degree and then an MBA in marketing and international business, a very different starting point from where you sit today at the intersection of ventures, AI, and hybrid cloud. So, what was the first moment you realized that your career would live at the edge of business and technology?
So I must say that it is not something that happened naturally at the beginning of my career, not in the first decade of 10 years or so. Because economics did give me a capability to understand the macro level economics, how it is impacting enterprises that I am working for, the business function that I am leading. And IT was always an IT department and an IT project. But over the last couple of years, we have all seen that IT has become a very integral part of what we do in our daily lives across all functions. So I believe it was my first brush at Vodafone in a telecom company where setting up networks led me to the understanding that nothing is possible without technology, and it underpins everything that we do. With the emergence of AI of late, things have been moving at a very fast pace. So it really is a balance about understanding economics at a macro picture, understanding technology and its implications to your day-to-day functionalities, and bringing it all together. So I believe that this is evolved naturally. It is not something that if you had asked me 24 years earlier, I would have been able to answer. And that's where I am today.
Great, ma'am. I really believe economics is one subject that everyone should study about.
I believe so too.
It gets everything back together to us.
Yes.
Moving on to the second question. Founders and corporate leaders often describe very different kinds of pressure.
Yeah.
So having lived both sides, what's a decision-making instinct you build as a founder that most corporate leaders never develop?
So the basic difference between working in an enterprise company at scale versus being a founder, and I'll explain it simply with an example of riding a bike versus being a captain at an airplane. When you're riding a bike, you are fluid enough, you can navigate through complex structures, you will make your way, it is cost efficient, you will get to your destination, but you will probably get there alone. But when you are piloting a plane, you are responsible for the passengers on the seat. Your system is much more robust. You probably will go through a hurricane with ease and you will land. But by the time you decide to take a turn, you would have aged 2 years, right? So that is the learning that I brought back of being a founder back into the enterprise when I joined, that you have to be flexible enough. You can be a startup even within an enterprise and bring it all together by breaking it down into pieces and building it back from back up.
Got it, ma'am. That is a really great analogy that I have never heard, but it actually brings down how you actually moved from being a founder, and that is how it shaped you being a great leader at IBM right now as well. Moving on to the third question. So, talking about your ventures only. So, at NextNew, you took the business to $5 million in revenue within 18 months and built a $7 million pipeline through alliances with players like Accenture and Adobe. So, what's that one partnership decision from the time you'd make differently you were starting today?
I believe with the pace at which technology is growing today, there's a learning that has come, which is that when you are sitting in a founder's seat, you want to really get everywhere, right? You want to spread wide, you want to reach out to your network and have a very large surface area, if I were to say so. But over a period of time, I have realized that having a little bit of focus choosing 2 or 3 key partners and building your business model around them and with them, co-creating with them, will take you a probably longer mile than reaching out to a larger number of people and building that broad surface area. So that's one decision today, I think, if I were to go back and be a founder, that I would take differently.
Great, ma'am. And building onto that with the next venture that you had, that Redmorph. Redmorph was in data privacy and cybersecurity years before it became a boardroom priority.
Yeah.
So what did it take you to sell that idea to the market that wasn't even fully ready for it yet? And what did that experience teach you about timing in the business?
Very important lesson, in fact. Being ahead of the curve is as good as being wrong. Right? And you rightly said that at that point in time, it was not a compliance issue. It was not a regulatory mandate. It was not on the priority list. It was not a must to do. It was just a good to have, and maybe only so for people who were interested in the idea of privacy. So we very quickly realized that there are 2 lessons actually there. One is the firm was rooted in European GDPR policies. Because Europe had this full focus on privacy, full-fledged, and the system was built with Europe in mind. The first lesson we learned is what applies in Europe or what applies in one country doesn't apply everywhere. You have to understand the culture and the regulation of the other country to be able to build it. So the founder who reached out to me for India actually was rooted in Europe. So we thought it's a great thing to do. But having set that up, when we were on the path, and we very soon realized that the compliance is not going to take us very far, we had to pivot and change the narrative to building around user trust, right? And how there were still people who wanted to take control of their data sovereignty. The real user trust and data sovereignty actually got us across the line. So the fewer institutions who came board for the purpose. And it taught 2 very important lessons. One, keep the culture and the region in mind whenever you're doing anything or launching a new business. Second, it's the narrative. It's how you can flip the model, still be ahead of the curve, still talk about the technical progression, which probably is coming 10 years down the line, but relate to the user if you can find that trust and reason for doing so.
Great, ma'am. I think it's actually how everyone wants to be ahead of the curve, but they don't understand that ahead of the curve is also
wrong
as well.
Yes.
Moving on to the next question. So before driving large-scale transformation at IBM, you co-founded the Next New and expanding across India and the Middle East as well. So how did sitting in the founder's seat shape your philosophy on consulting once you transitioned back into the large enterprise like IBM?
Sure. So I will not name the enterprises, and I will probably not even call out a particular country. But generally, when we are talking consulting, when we are talking about advisory, it's something that comes free of cost. But when you are in the founder's seat, every conversation must lead to a commercial decision. It must translate into something, otherwise you're wasting your time. And that is the biggest lesson it gave me. I would say impatience about giving advisory as a strategy, as a tactical strategy, unless it is embedded in the long-term enterprise value that a business is trying to drive. And that is the change that I brought back. That's the learning I brought back to my enterprise job today. And I think it truly resonates even with what I do today.
Great, ma'am. I guess that's amazing. Moving now to the role that you had at today. So at IBM, you have owned the full life cycle of ventures and acquisition. Most people only see the announcement of this deal. So what's the unglamorous and the unseen part of the M&A that actually determines whether it has succeeded or not?
Yeah, I mean, what you see in the photos, let me just put a parallel for a wedding, right? So seeing the 5% is like the pictures, is like the wedding album, right? Where everyone's looking glamorous, everyone's smiling, standing together. But there's a before and there's an after. So when I say I've done end-to-end, there is a before part which ends up with a lot of dating. And when you're dating founders and when you're trying to understand what drives them, what is the value, what are they trying to build, and keeping in mind how will it fit back into the system where you are sitting, right? There's a lot of painful experiences. Some of them are very hilarious. Some of them lead you to making good friends, maybe not acquisitions. And then few of them which truly align, which you work with and bring to the table. So that's the pre-part, which is a very, very long journey of meeting too many people, keeping your mind open and continuing despite having multiple roadblocks. And with larger enterprises, an acquisition brings with it a lot of checkpoints. There are many cycles, many approvals, many loops that you have to go through. So bringing each stakeholder onto the page and showing them the value that you see in the company is a very important lesson in communication as well. Then the photos, which is the and then the post-merger integration is a real marriage. You have seen the wedding, you've seen the pictures, but the marriage is what teaches you the pain points. What was glamorous 2 days ago will start hurting you. How do you build around it? A lot of it is actually preempted in the pre-sales cycle, in the cycles ahead. When you are dating, you do preempt a lot of it. You prepare as much as you can, but still every day comes with a new surprise. So post-merger integration, again, has its own teething troubles. And that's really when you discover the value of what you have acquired when the teams come together.
Understood. I'm really loving your analogy of like how you actually made a similarity between mergers and acquisition and marriage. It's a very easy way to really understand it as well. So moving on to the next one, having built your own venture and later evaluated and acquired at IBM, so what do you look for a founding team that founders themselves often don't realize they are being judged on?
Yeah, it happens because they do realize that we are looking at the pitch deck, we are looking at their product, we are looking at the go-to-market story and the scale that they are showing us. But at least we tend to lift the hood. And beneath the hood, what you see is how the team is really working together. What is the vision, mission? Why are they together? What is driving them? How are the decisions being made internally? Are they autonomous? Are they rolling up to just one person? Is he able to drive that why in the team? Or is it just about building another product, launching another feature? What drives them? And the second, very important, equally important, I would say, is if they were to pivot from being driven by one single leader or a startup founder to come and become a part of a much larger organization, which is process driven, where you have to keep a little fluidity in mind, how would they fit? So some of those things, along with your standard financial decisions that probably are on the slide, but not everything is on the slide. You have to look beneath. And that's why long-term dating.
Yeah, there's so many moving particles that you need to evaluate. That's great, ma'am. Moving on to the GCCs part that I saw that on your LinkedIn profile as well, you have been really vocal about the GCCs shouldn't be seen just as a cost-effective support hubs, but also as a strategic innovation engines. So what does an organization actually have to change, either structurally or culturally, to make that shift real, rather than just live in the strategy deck?
Yeah. So I have been vocal about it because I truly believe that GCC is really a model beyond cost arbitrage. What started off as labor arbitrage can really develop and bloom into a truly transformation model. Unless the delivery teams who are working for the GCC are given the autonomy and access to decision making with an ability to drive the strategic decision making along with the headquarters or even independently more so, we can see the true transformation and the value that the GCC can unlock for the enterprise. Most often than not, we see that while it's written, the decision making is still happening in teams outside of this country or outside of wherever the GCC is located. So true progress comes when you partner in the real spirit.
Understood, ma'am. Moving to the hot topic that we have today, that is AI. So you have spoken about AI augmented leadership and the need to rethink the governance, talent, and the innovation models for the AI first one. So what's that one thing about how leaders are making that decision that you believe has to change structurally in this shift?
So a lot of decision making, and I would not say leaders, everyone in general, including me, there were times when we are making decision basis the quarterly reviews that we are having, the data availability, which is once in a month, once in a week. But AI has changed everything. Data has become nearly real time, sometimes almost real time and ahead. It's giving trends, it's giving you analysis. So your decision making ability has to evolve and shift along with at the pace at which AI is giving you, right? And that's the shift that I see in leadership, which is going to take a long time for us to adapt to. While information is available, it is really about bringing the structure around it together to be able to navigate and still take the right decisions. So that's the change that I foresee.
I believe AI is everywhere, but the strategy part is where the leaders are working the most at. And it's the most difficult part for the leaders only, I feel, to how to integrate AI everywhere in the team as well.
And it starts at the top.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing, ma'am, I could see all the posts that you have been posting about AI. It is really inspirational to read all the posts that you have been writing as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. The Gartner's research suggests that a significant share of the agentic AI projects get abandoned before they even scale. So, in your experience, what's the real on-the-ground reason those projects die? And is it actually ever about the technology reason?
Not really. So that's a very, very good question, because it's rarely technology. We just briefly touched upon the fact that it starts at the top. Surprisingly, there's a data point that most of the AI, in fact, any technology transformation typically fails because of lack of adoption. So you have gone out, as a simple example, and bought the fastest and the most shiny IT toy, but you're not ready for it. And how do you get ready for it when your data is in siloed places? The operational teams are not ready. There is no briefing done, and they are not ready in terms of governance and the ability to change the structure. So it is easy to make that investment, but it is very difficult to align around that investment. It really evolves a business shift and a mindset shift in the way we are running businesses today, and get ready and adapt to that new organizational structure. And that's why it has to start from the top.
Understood, ma'am. Moving on to leadership and governance, you have talked about a decision to delay a major product rollout to ensure the ethical compliance, even under commercial pressure. So take us inside that moment. What made you willing to absorb that cost?
See, true governance, and the reason why governance is set up, is really tested when there's a cash decision or a commercial decision at stake. It is very easy to go through with it at that time when you are barely ready, but the long-term cost of losing trust and losing enterprise value for that one decision is much bigger. And while we talk about losing time, velocity is something that can never replace or outdate integrity. So it is important that whatever we are promising, we are delivering to that. It would have set us back in financial numbers on that quarter, and it's an impact we all took, and there were explanations. But for the longer term, keeping that trust alive and being able to nurture that relationship was more important than losing that quarter.
It's really great that leaders still believe that the first thing, that is governance and ethics, are the most important part of anything.
Integrity always.
Always, yeah. Moving on to the next question, you have directed transformation team of almost 50 to 75 people across India and APAC. So what's a leadership habit you had built specifically to lead at that scale, and that you didn't need when your teams were smaller?
Yeah, so when you're working across a region, we just touched upon the cultural differences part. Again, that learning comes into play here as well. With different cultures, their drives are different. The reason why everybody comes to work every morning is different, partly because of the culture that they are in. The second thing is the nuance that they look for while driving the bigger project is different across different geographies. When you have a team in one physical location, it is very easy to walk up to them, have a conversation, understand their pain points. But when you are present across time zones, how do you build the same connect? The only way to do it is to replicate that rigor by having some time parked aside for fun, for retros, for taking feedback, for understanding what their pain points in their regions are, and sometimes, whenever possible, traveling and meeting them in person. It is difficult, but it is manageable.
Great, ma'am. I'm thinking that all the organization behavior subject that we are getting to study at MBA, you are teaching me that in a really better manner. So, ma'am, moving on, like what to the advice for the next generation that we are part of. So, if a first year MBA student told you they wanted to eventually found something of their own, but were considering starting in a large consulting or technology firm first, so what would you tell them?
Absolutely. You must. There are things that you will learn at that technology or consulting firm that you're wanting to join that will teach you a lot about the focus on commercials, the processes, the investment of time into building partnerships and ecosystems, managing complexity, and the biggest thing is building risk taking capacity. You can never, I'm sure you're learning risk in your college, but you cannot imagine what it takes in terms of risk mitigation when you're a founder and you're trying to sign a paycheck for 15 people on your team when your largest client is on a 10-day offsite with the entire procurement team. Nothing can prepare you for that. But these scenarios and these complexities are navigated in larger systems, and that is what you build. So please go in, learn the rigor, do it with your heart. You will be a better founder.
Understood, ma'am. I guess that's why they say that pressure is a privilege, that you are telling us that one should always be ready to take the risk.
And pressures change.
Yeah.
So the better prepared you are and equipped you are to manage that change, hopefully you will cut down some time as a founder
Understood,
on
ma'am.
launching.
Moving on to the next question. As someone who now evaluates young management talent entering consulting, so what's one core competency you find something missing in the fresh graduates, and one they will need to survive the next decade of the digital disruption that is coming?
I think commercial empathy, because information and knowledge is now very easily available thanks to AI, which used to be something that we relied heavily upon the consultants for, is accessible. So then what remains? What remains is your ability as a human to predict what could happen, challenge the status quo. What AI does is work on trends, right? Bases the historical data. Not everything that is in history will repeat itself. It does, but not always. And that's where the human mind comes in and you debate it back. So keep that focus on the commercial acumen where you start building a rapport with your user. And whether it's enterprise, whether it's B2B or a B2C, user empathy never goes away. So those are the two key things I believe in the ages that we are living in today will become very, very important.
Understood, ma'am. I have noted this down. One more question on this, ma'am. Looking back at your own career, economics graduate, entrepreneur twice over, and enterprise transformation leader right now. So, what's that one piece of career advice you received that turned out to be completely wrong for you?
It turned out to be completely wrong for me. I have nothing against the advice. And the advice was stick to one line. Become a deep domain expert, right? And I do believe that rigidity about just being very focused on one thing, well, not everyone can do it, to each his own, right? And if you see my career, it's a very zigzag. I've done finance, I've done BPO, I've done startup, I've done a bit of everything. What it gave me is an ability to be a generalist, right? I've even written about being a polymorphic leader and how journalists really rule the next era of the world. The ability to connect the dots in the unpredictable world that we live in today, where technology is evolving at the pace that it is a very great ability. And I think that's what has navigated my career. Had I heard them and stayed on one course, I would have never adapted this flexibility. So staying fluid is as much a strength as being super focused.
Great advice, ma'am. I guess all the folks here at GMP also want to know about this, and they would be hearing about that tomorrow as well from you for the journalist thing. Just one last question. So on the topic of MBA education itself, the one-year MBA program has been gaining ground in India, while they have long been the norm in markets like the US. So, what are your thoughts on the 1 year format? What do you expect from the students coming out of the program like that? And what value add do you think it would bring to someone's career profile?
I do think that it gives you a process and it gives you structure.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming most of the people who are doing the 1 year programs, as I just heard, are coming with some bit of background and experience. So you have actually lived the real world. You have seen the challenges. So when you're coming in classrooms, you'll question better. You will understand better and you'll be able to relate to it. While going through the academic curriculum has its own benefits, this gets you ready more for the real world because you have seen the problems and you are learning how to structure it in a process. So it's a welcome change. It is good to have these curriculums now available in India. And I'm hoping that the people who are joining here can go back to companies with this learning and continue their earlier progress.
Great, ma'am. Thank you. So let's close with just a rapid fire round, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first question that I have is,
Sure.
so one management myth you wish corporate leaders would stop believing.
Okay, I've zoned out. This is where it is edited. Can you ask the question again?
Yeah. One management myth you wish corporate leaders would stop believing.
Yeah, the management myth is that taking everyone's approval is a way of risk mitigation. If we go around the room and if we wait for everyone to approve, you have missed the business opportunity. Sometimes risk taking is more about working with 50% information.
Understood, ma'am. Second question. The most underrated skill for a modern consultant navigating complex cross-border transformations.
Cultural empathy.
One corporate buzzword you wish consulting decks would ban forever.
Hyperscalability. If everything is hyperscalable, then why have we spent the last 3 months talking in meetings about launching a pilot?
Understood. One book or mentor that shaped how you lead.
Simon Sinek, Start with the Why. He talks about this golden circle where there are 3 concentric circles: why, what, and how. And he talks very deeply about when you are working, how it should be led by your purpose and drive that across your team. So that's something that I really, really look up to and follow.
Great, ma'am. Just one last. So just complete the sentence. The leaders who will thrive in the next decade of business are the ones that
that can adapt to the pace of technological advancement and not treat it as an IT project, along with balancing the learning of treating and working with individuals who are driven by vision.
Great, ma'am. This was the last of my question. And thank you so much for being so candid about every question. I think everyone here would be learning a lot from you. And even tomorrow also, when we will be looking at the hosting and all the things, that we would learn a lot from you. Ma'am, just one last question. So complete the sentence. The biggest danger to modern business transformation is?
Treating AI like a fairy dust, where you can sprinkle it all over your legacy systems and hope that tomorrow morning will be different.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again, for all the candor you have put in here. We are really obliged and honored to have you here with us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I have loved every minute of it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.